In the beginning, the Most High created Adam and Lilith from the red soil of the ground and breathed the breath of life into them. Then they had a little tangle and an argument, and we know how that story ends, don't we? But the important part there was the breath. The soul entered into them as the Holy One breathed life in. Our breath is our life. And so many spiritual practices teach you to control and to constrain it because they're trying to teach you to control and constrain life. I do practice some breathing techniques, but there's one that I've been doing for the past year that has really helped me to both connect to my spirit and to dig into the divine. So I want to talk about how we can share that divine breath today as we walk together down creation's paths. Hello, everyone. My name is Charlie. I am a Christopagan druid and priest of Brigid.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brian. I'm a Christopagan druid and sous chef to the Dogda.
Today, we're going to be talking about how to practice the divine breath. I'm actually going to be talking about two different ways to do this, the way I was originally taught and the way that I'm doing it now, and why this is a really good way to connect to our own spirit and to the divine. It's also a really good way to get ready for the day and a good way to wind down at night, which are the times I find myself doing it most, but it also helps throughout the day to just help you have that moment of grounded connection that I think we could all use more of. But before we get into all that, if you haven't already, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, whatever the terminology happens to be on whatever app you're listening to us on. We are working really hard to make this the best podcast that we can on Christopagan practice, spirituality, and magic. And you don't want to miss a thing. So let's just get into it now, shall we? The first time I started doing anything like this was when I went through what I believe was originally a tape series by Matthew Fox. I got it at Audible, and it was called Radical Prayer. It was recorded at a retreat that he did, and in case you go look it up, the audio is not the best. The audio recording has some issues. There are some times, especially at the beginning, where the audio is nearly incomprehensible. If you can deal with all that, go ahead and check it out. It's really, really good. During these teachings on prayer, which are really powerful, he mentions breathing the divine name. And so he says you mouth the consonants and you do the throat motions as if you are pronouncing the tetragrammaton, the four-letter name of God, YHVH. You mouth it as you breathe in and as you breathe out. Because of the air moving through and the constriction, it makes the sound of the name as you are breathing.
Well, show us.
Because you don't actually vocalize. You're not trying to move the vocal cords at all. You're just moving your lips and the muscles in your throat. You're making all of the motions as if you were saying, but you're just letting the air pass in and out. That's another way to do it, where first half in, last half out. And it's a really good centering prayer. It's one that I practiced for a long time. And it's difficult to do when you have a cold like I currently do. But it's a wonderful way to center yourself. What changed in me was when I read Rabbi Rami Shapiro's wonderful book, Judaism Without Tribalism, which I highly recommend. It's such a powerful book. And in there, he talks about how we encounter the divine. And he uses two specific names for the way that we encounter the divine. So we have Ehyeh that we encounter out in the world, the divine name, Adonai, the tetragrammaton that we encounter within. So we encounter one within us and one on the outside of us. It's because Ehyeh means I am. Ehyeh from Ehyeh, I am that I am. I would be that I would be. I will be that I will be. It is the divine name given in its very verbal form, whereas the divine name, Adonai, is simply the verb to be. It's just being. So within us, we are, and beyond us, I am. And it's really an interesting way to perceive both our interiority and our relationship with the world around us, because they are distinct and different, but the same at the same time. So in my mind, I ended up connecting those teachings about the two inclinations that we have. Our inclination to self, the Yetzer Hara, and our inclination towards others, which is the Yetzer Hatov. And so the Yetzer Hara, which literally means our inclination to evil, is that very selfish closing in that we do where we only see ourselves. It's a very narcissistic mode of action, but one that we should not totally eradicate, because sometimes we have to be the bad guy and say no. Sometimes we have to think of ourselves and what's best for us outside of the group context for our own health and well being. Now, our Yetzer Hatov, our inclination to goodness, literally inclination to good, is our connection to others. This is our communal aspect. It's what drives us to connect with others. This is where we encounter that kind of groupthink, group mind, and we kind of lose ourselves in the group. I think one of the most ecstatic ways a lot of us experience this is maybe on the dance floor when everybody's dancing to the same song, maybe at a concert where everybody is singing and dancing to the same song. You just lose yourself in the group. There's no distinction between you and the group that you're in. But this also has a dark side. Political movements very often will fuel this inclination towards good so that people are blinded by groupthink and not considering what's good for them individually or for others individually. And so that has to be moderated as well. And so we're always looking for this balance between the Yetzer Hatov and the Yetzer Hara. And so while I was thinking about this idea of the God within us, and I use the divine name Yah when I do this prayer, which is part of the Tetragrammaton, which, as you know, I try not to say. Yah can be fairly solipsistic and narcissistic in the scripture. Yah is a jealous God. Yah is very demanding and tells people to do bad things sometimes. And yes, part of that is because Yah originated as probably a Midianite storm god that moved in and was adopted and ended up taking the role of Baal in Israelite and Judaite mythology before later being mixed in with El and becoming the supreme god. But you can see a lot of selfishness, especially anytime you see in your Bible the Lord, usually all caps, maybe sometimes in small caps. It's very internal. It often has this kind of Yetzer Hara tone to it. Not always, but it often does. And so this idea of bringing everything in and putting everything out and experiencing this back and forth and back and forth really resonated with me as an idea when I was reading Judaism without tribalism.
I found doing that practice some deeper understanding and subtle clarification when it comes to certain concepts, certain ideas, around like self and selfishness. One of the great struggles is, how do I take care of myself and still be a good steward or live in good relationship with the community? That breathing in part really helped me to understand better, like, well, first of all, if I'm not breathing in, I am providing myself with the things that I need, oxygen, for life, providing myself with those basic things I need to live and to have a good life. And without that, I'm no good to anybody. I'm passed out on the floor or dead or both. And so it made me realize, oh, it is good to give. Same thing with exhaling. I can breathe life into the creative works that I do, into the universe around me. But if I'm just exhaling and I'm not inhaling, then eventually I run out of exhale. It's empty and there's nothing left to give. Even though there might be lots still in me to give, I'm unable, just physically unable to give anymore. And that breathing helped make me have a deeper awareness of that I need both in balance. I need to both inhale so that I have the life giving elements that I need to thrive and survive. And I needed that also so that I can give more. Because the more I inhale, the stronger my exhale is, the better I can breathe out life around me and create. It was a very profound understanding of both creation and taking care of myself, and when what would normally be considered selfish acts is not selfish, and where that line actually is, and better ways to discern the differentiation in that line, because the line always moves. Everybody's breath is different, everybody's life is different, and that's why hard and fast rules don't work. We still need to both inhale and exhale, because if all we do is inhale, we're going to pass out as well. It's not good for us. So we know that solipsistic state is bad And we're not creating either. We're also not putting anything out into the universe. The plants need our CO2 for their food and process.
It really helps us to connect the idea of the yeshing of God, the beginning and the emptiness, the being and the emptiness of God. You can really feel this when you're doing the breath. It connects in the same way. That fullness, that yesh, that being, when you're inhaling, and you can feel it filling up. And then that emptiness as you're breathing out and just pouring yourself out, just like when you're puffing yourself up, because you breathe in and you're puffing yourself up, right? And that emptying, that letting go, that a yin, that emptiness, as you're literally emptying your lungs and emptying yourself out, you are pouring yourself out and filling yourself up, and pouring yourself out and filling yourselves up. It's something that I find myself consciously thinking about while I'm doing the practice, because it's so embodied with the practice of the fullness and the emptiness, expanding out into the world beyond me. It's just naturally what you're doing. And so it feels like what you're meant to be thinking about. And that to me is the best kind of meditation, where it fully embodies the practice and the philosophy together, locked hand in hand. It really does make it all come together and click better. And so when you're doing this kind of breath, when you're doing this divine breath, the way that I've been doing it for about the past year or so, you breathe in and you just go through all of the motions. Feel how your tongue moves, your throat kind of constricts a little in the back, your lips make a particular motion. Now you do that when just do those motions. Don't vibrate your throat. Just do those motions as you breathe in. If you hear the word "yah" as you're breathing in, and then as you're breathing out, say "Ehyeh, Ehyeh, Ehyeh." Feel all the motions in your throat, what your lips are doing, but we don't vocalize. So just, and we go back and forth. Back and forth, breathing in the divine name, the one that's close to our heart, the one that embodies being, the one that embodies the self, the one that embodies this fullness. And we breathe out into the emptiness. We breathe out into the one that inclines us to community, to being with others, to being ourself amongst them. We're literally saying, I am, right? Breathing that out over and over again. Breathe it in, breathe it out, and feel that centering, that wholeness, that moment of stability. I feel this kind of warmth in my chest when I do this. And you can do it at the pace that you need. You need to get worked up. You need to build some energy up. Do it quicker, because breathing faster tells the body, oh, I need to get ready. Things are happening. I need to maybe turn on the adrenaline. I need to get the energy going. I need to get things pumping. You need to relax. Do it real slow and just rest with this idea of the ocean becoming the drop and the drop melting back into the ocean. The communal self is becoming the personal self, and the personal self is melting back out into the community. One with the cosmos, one with the self. Back and forth in this endless ebb and tide that we often take for granted. Most of us don't even notice when we're breathing unless we're out of breath. Bringing that consciousness to the breath is a very empowering thing to do. And because I haven't cited enough people in here, Thich Nhat Hanh always said that mindfulness is the greatest form of magic, because it brings you into that moment where everything is. And we're literally giving rise to this mindfulness within us as we're doing this practice by reciting, to be, I am, to be, I am, to be, I am, to be. You are totally immersing yourself in this present moment. That's a powerful way to do mindfulness meditation. I often count when I do mindfulness meditation because it helps for me to have something going on in my mind to keep me focused. This breath in, this breath out. Now, when I do my mindfulness meditation, I'm saying these names. Yah, Ehyeh. In and out, in and out. It is an extremely rooting process, and one that really reminds us not only that, as we're always saying here, because we are theistic animists, that God is in all things and all things are in God. We are really living this feeling that divine air go into us and out and constantly flowing.
So there's a slight variant of this that I enjoy doing. It's a bit more advanced. It's adding another layer on this particular breath offering. And it's where I added in the four paths from Creation Spirituality into the mix. It starts at the via transformativa, the inhale. As you're inhaling, you're saying Ehyeh, you are in this path of transformation. You are becoming, is what layer it adds to it. You're inhaling into this path of transformation. You are becoming yourself. And that inhale is a state of becoming. But then instead of going from inhale to exhale, you actually pause, because the next path is at that moment after you've inhaled before you exhale. Now you're at that point of the path of the via positiva, awe and wonder. You have filled yourself with life, with becoming, and your transformation is there. You are full. Now, you hold it. You actually kind of hold it for a second or two. It doesn't have to be a long count of one or two. It doesn't even have to be a full second, but you're holding it for that path of the via positiva. Then you move into the path of the negative and you're exhaling. You are literally emptying yourself, and you're moving into that place of emptying, of darkness, when it's scary to move into the world. It's scary to be out in the community. And what does it mean to be responsible and living in right relationship? It's all part of the via negativa. It's all part of this path of emptying, because you are now giving of yourself to others around you. Collectively, everyone is more. And then you hold it, because you're now in the path of via creativa, the path of creation. After emptying yourself, that's when you move into that state. You have now emptied yourself out into the community around you. Now you're in that state of creating a better world. And then you transform and you breathe it all back in. Everything you've created, everything that the community has created, all of that creation that has gone on to make everything better, you're now breathing it all back in the transformativa, in that inhale, and you're holding it so that you now are becoming a new you, an even better you, because you have now all of that, and you hold it on wonder and joy, and then you exhale it and you empty yourself back out and you create even more. And it literally is better. And it becomes a very profound exercise. I would definitely practice the first one for a while until you get used to just the inhale and exhale before adding all the other complexities. But if you want a deeper connection to yourself and to the community around you in the more positive aspects of that, actually, that breathing the four paths there is a very embiggening way of doing it.
We're going to make him beginning happen.
Oh, yeah.
I like that word so much.
It is.
Just a reminder, if you are new to doing any kind of breath work, be very careful when you hold your breath. It can actually damage your lungs if you don't do it carefully. Be sure to keep your throat open. Don't close up, don't clench up, don't hold too tightly. Just breathe in and stop breathing in. Be careful trying to hold the air in. You can actually do a lot of damage to your throat and to your lungs by doing that. And then breathe out and you'll be fine. Don't worry about it too much, but I think a lot of people who don't do a lot of breathing techniques, because it's the kind of damage you see mostly with people who are either learning how to do free diving or some people who are trying to teach it themselves advanced like yoga techniques and stuff.
Yeah.
Without somebody who explains exactly how to hold their breath, just be very careful and very mindful. And if it feels extremely uncomfortable, breathe out.
Yeah.
This isn't about some goal of how long you can do it, and this isn't about some endurance award for doing it for an extended period of time or a certain amount of time. Be comfortable and be careful.
Yeah. And that's why I always stress pausing for a moment of time. I left it a vague amount of time because it needs to be natural for your process. And it is a journey. You're journeying through all four paths. So you're not supposed to go and stop and go and stop. It's supposed to be a flow, a dance. Let it be natural.
And I hope that this has been helpful for you. I hope that you've enjoyed it. I hope that this is a practice that you try and maybe it brings some goodness to your life. It's something that I really enjoy doing. I do this every morning and I do this every night before I go to bed. Actually, I do this right before my evening prayers. And if I'm having trouble falling asleep, I will often do this until I fall asleep. It's a very relaxing, very grounding practice. And it's one that means a lot. And I wanted to share it. I'd love to know your thoughts about this. Have you tried this or any other breathing practice? If so, let us know in the comments. If you're listening to us on YouTube, Spotify, or CreationsPaths.com, you can leave a comment right there. If you're listening to us anywhere else, even if they say you can leave a comment, they don't notify us, so we won't know. But you can leave a comment there anyway, because engagement is magic. And then head over to CreationsPaths.com, click on chat, and you can leave a message there, and we will see it, and we will be able to get back to you. While you're there, if you happen to have a few dollars, you can pass our way. We offer monthly and annual memberships. You can also support us on Patreon and Ko-fi. I am CE Dorset on both, and you can support us using the Cash App hashtag CreationsPaths. Thank you to everybody who does that. We are ever so grateful. Thank you so much. You all really do help us keep the lights on, keep a roof over our head, and food on our table. If we've ever said anything that's helped you out, please share it with others. That helps us out more than you know. And before we go, just a little blessing. May the breath of God ever be in your lungs and the light of God ever in your eyes. May your feet always walk the way of kindness, compassion, and justice. And may the wings of the wind ever carry you to all the places your heart desires. Amen.
Amen.